And welcome into this Wednesday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Hope everybody is doing well, staying as cool as possible. I feel like we talk about the heat so much, we might as well be reincarnations of James Spann. But I mean, it really has been hot. Chase, have you looked at the weather? Let me see. Let me check my phone real quick. 89 is what it says, Chase. Is there any way that's true? Is it really only 89 degrees? It does say the high is 93. Do you believe that?
I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be surprised, Christian. I looked it up on the internet. It says 92. Let me get my water right now. What?
Speaking of that, man, I'm not gonna lie. I forgot to fill my bottle up. And I showed you guys what I use. I have a big Stanley cup. People try to make jokes sometimes because it is a little bit more of a. It's kind of a woman thing. I feel like the big Stanley cup. You see a lot of girls at the gym with them. But I will say it's very handy. I think it's probably about a 32 ounce or so. But what it does a really good job of keeping the drinks cool. It's like one of those types of cups, like the thermal. So I do enjoy that. Plus, I think what I realized is that technically, I think you can use hot drinks in there now. I feel like it would be weird because I'm just so accustomed of thinking of it as, like a cold drink thing. But anyway, but it's great. So make sure you guys do stay hydrated. In terms of what we got on the ticker for today, we got a number of things to dive into, right? A couple videos I would definitely want to talk about. Number one, our buddy Josh Pate. He's always put some good stuff out. We love to listen to it, watch it, and then respond to it. Well, of course, somebody asked him a good question about Alabama. And I know we've been talking a lot about expectations and things like that. So we're going to keep on with that trend. Well, I guess somebody tweeted him and said, what if Alabama repeats what they did last year? They go 9-3 and miss the playoffs in DeBoer's second year. Does the panic level go through the roof? That was a question that they posed for Josh Pate. We'll listen to that video. It's about 6 minutes, not too long. And then we'll respond to it. And we'll hear Josh Pate's, chaos scenario for Alabama and what that might look like. Obviously, he doesn't believe that's the case. But I'm just curious to see what he thinks would happen if that happens. Because, again, you've heard it. We talk about on the show the importance of this season. We know it's year 2. And obviously, year 3 is always that magic number when it comes to new coaches. But I do feel like with Alabama, year 2, I mean, the expectations are always going to be a little bit higher, right? And we've been talking about, what needs to happen, what it could look like. Well, always interesting to hear another perspective, especially a guy like Josh Pate, very popular voice in college football. We'll listen to that. We got Cole Kublik and Greg McElroy. They had a clip from the other day, just a few minutes long, discussing Alabama's offensive line unit group that we talked about. Ricky wasn't so high on the group. I think Cole Kublik, when he initially spoke about him, he had him around 4 or 5 in the SEC. But PFF, man, they're holding firm, man. They're holding firm with having Alabama's offensive line unit ranked as the number 1 unit in the country, not the conference, but the country. So listen to that. Another video we got on tap, the updated series. I think it's, what is it called? The Bama Standard Chase. That what we've been watching it's from Alabama football. They've been putting it on YouTube, just a few minutes long. Well, we've looked at the defensive line group. We've looked at the wide receivers, I believe. Now the new video that they put out, I believe, is on the defensive back room, a room that a lot of people are excited about. So we got to check that out. So we got a few videos planned for you that we'll dive into. Plus, one more video I forgot to mention. You got Kalen DeBoer. He sat down with AL.com and gave his thoughts there. I do plan on getting them on here shortly. I was talking with them the other day about that, really setting some stuff up. But we will watch that. And then obviously, once we get them on here, we'll ask our own questions. Because, again, I feel like at this point, Chase, I mean, during the offseason, there's only so many things you can ask these coaches, right? So when he comes on here, we'll definitely get some very – we'll switch it up a little bit that way. We'll keep it a little more X's and O's, which will be different than anybody. So it'll feel a little fresh. But anyway, they got that video up. So we'll probably, weave in and out of there. It's a long video, so we won't do the whole thing. But what I'm getting at is we got a lot of good content to listen to react to. Always fun to do that. Always want to encourage you guys as well. If you guys ever see anything that you might be scrolling on social media, QD, he sees stuff, he tags us, Ricky, same thing. Always do that. How can you do that? On X at the Miller's Edge. If you guys see anything, just tag us in it. We'll respond to it. We'll watch it. We'll break it down. We'll discuss it. Carson does the same thing. Always find some good stuff, some good content. We always love when you guys send us stuff, so you can do that. You can always download that Tide 100.9 app. You can send app messages. You can do it there. Or, and I highly encourage this, you can join us on the YouTube stream, right? YouTube.com at the Miller's Edge. Search us up. You can watch me do the show. You can watch me put the clips on the screen. We can watch the tape. We can do all that good stuff on the YouTube stream. So if you guys prefer the visual, do that. It's completely free. All we do is ask you to subscribe to the channel, drop us a like. That's all you got to do, and that definitely helps us out. But again, that's what we got planned for today. I got to remind you about our friends over at the Good Feet Store, America's art sport experts. Try before you buy. Nothing to lose. Make sure you check them out. If you're in any type of pain, whether that's foot pain, knee pain, back pain, you name it, they take care of it. It's a simple process. You just pop the Arch Sports in your shoes, boots, whatever you're wearing, on your feet, and they get to work, clinically proven to do so in just 4 short weeks. Goodfeet.com is the website, but you can always go to their location here in Tuscaloosa, Midtown Village, right there off of McFarland Boulevard. You can't beat these deals. Try before you buy, nothing to lose. Make sure you guys take advantage of the Good Feet Store. Again, that is the Good Feet Store, improving the quality of people's lives 2 feet at a time. Quick timeout. We come back. We get started right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
The Tide 100.9 WTBC 1230 Sports Radio studio is presented.
Justin, what's up? Q, I see you. Mike, what's going on, guys? Stanley Cup. Stanley Cup. Didn't that just end? Oh, you're talking about what I was talking about. I'm sorry. I'm tripping. Yes, sir. It's called a Stanley Cup. That's right. Dwight, we back. Yes, sir. Back in here. What's up? I was thinking you're talking about like the Stanley Cup. I'm like, yeah, who didn't was like the Florida Panthers won back to back or something? I'm not a big hockey guy. I think I saw that. Speaking of Stanley Cups, let me fill mine up real quick. I ain't gonna lie to you guys. I don't know if you ever talking for 2 hours straight, man, without like a co-host, not easy. Not easy. Let me fill my water bottle up. And no, Q, don't get on me. It's in no bathroom breaks, even though one during the show I think is completely normal, man. But let me fill up my cup real quick. That way I'm ready to go.
It's the summer of Chick-fil-A chicken strips and sauces. Order now on the Chick-fil-A app. Team members paid for their testimonials.
Thy ticket, Lady Jennifer of Coolidge.
Well, many thanks, good sir. Hereeth my Discover card.
They accept Discover at Renaissance fairs?
Yeah, they do here. Discover is accepted at the places I love to shop. Getteth with the times.
With the times? You're playing the lute.
Yeah, and it sounds pretty good, right?
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Real deals are happening now at Townsend Nissan. 0% for 60 months on all in-stock Rogues and Pathfinders. We have over 60 on the ground and on the way. And yes, up to $6,000 in rebates on the hot V6 Frontier 2 and 4-wheel drives. Oh, you need a car? New Versa start at $20,990, or the Sharp Sentra starts at $22,990. All nicely equipped. Remember, Townsend Nissan is the #1 volume dealer, and rebates and low rates and the most for your trade is Townsend Nissan specialty.
Do your summer plans include travel? Make sure your prep includes more than just flights and hotels. Stay up to date with COVID-19 vaccination, especially if you're 65 or older or have certain health conditions. There have been surges in COVID-19 in the summer, too. It's important to help protect yourself no matter your destination. So check eligibility and schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. That's VAXassist.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Thy ticket, Lady Jennifer of Coolidge.
Well, many thanks, good sir. Hereeth my Discover card.
They accept Discover at Renaissance fairs?
Yeah, they do here. Discover is accepted at the places I love to shop. Getteth with the times.
With the times? You're playing the lute.
Yeah, and it sounds pretty good, right?
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
From our home base in Birmingham,
we are here treating patients from every generation
across the United States
and from around the world.
We're here for the rookies and the dreamers, trying to make a name for themselves.
Dwight said you got a Stanley, but it's for his alcoholic beverages. Smart idea, I guess.
No for an answer.
We're here for the coaches.
Athletic train.
I don't drink, so there will be no alcohol in my Stanley. But if I did, I probably would use it for that reason too. That's smart.
Medicine.com.
Hey, it's Christian Miller, and I want to tell you about our great friends.
Let's see. Yeah, we got a number of clips to get to today, which will be good. If y'all see anything, again, send them in, man. At the Miller's Edge on X. Excuse me.
Brian Harding Construction today at 205-752-96.
We got Pat on the phone line, so we'll get a recruiting update. Hopefully he can give us some more details on these guys. I know Pat, though, man. Pat's going to say that the 6'3" safeties, the next, I don't know, Taylor Mays. You guys remember Taylor Mays from Southern Cal? Dude was juicing, man.
4. I'm Shane Spann on the ABC 30.
Dude's arms were literally like unproportionately big.
This is Miller's Edge on Tide 100.9.
And welcome back into this Wednesday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. All right, one other thing I forgot to mention. This evening, I will be over at the stadium. You got the 1st and 10 stuff. If you guys aren't familiar with that, it's basically what they have established where players a couple times a year, meet with representatives from different businesses or companies. Or really any profession. That way you can establish relationships with these folks. That way when you're done playing, you have some people to lean on or some resources that you can reach out to kind of help you get lined up with what you want to do. And so I got to go attend that this evening. So that'll be fun. It's kind of funny. So I mean, like, because I'm like former player doing some broadcasting stuff. I do some real estate stuff, invest. So I guess I'm just kind of like, oh, yeah, man, if you've got any questions about any of that, man, let me know. But that'll be cool. So I got that planned this evening, so that'll be fun. But anyways, in terms of the show, we mentioned what we have on tap. We got a whole bunch of videos to get to. And don't worry, I know you guys probably hear that. Don't think it's like, oh, we're just going to listen to videos. No. They're like shorter clips that we'll break down, which will be good. But we do have Pat on the phone lines. We haven't heard from Pat since the big recruiting fireworks that happened the last couple of days, right? I think we picked up, 3 commits. Then I just saw yesterday, Chase, we actually picked up a 4th. Looks like we got ourselves a long snapper, man. And I think he claimed he was like a 4/5-star long snapper. Or maybe I'm making that up, but it looked like that's what it was in his name or bio. I don't know. Anyway, so maybe Pat can give us some details on it. 205-342-9904 is the number to the program. We're going to go ahead and go out to Pat. Pat, welcome in, man. What you got for us?
Well, first off, we have kids from the School of the Mines and
the punter.
Got some really good specialists that Coach DeBoer's already got on hand. A long snapper is extremely important. As you well know, I mean, we've had times where we couldn't get the ball to the punter and lost games. So can't be any more important than that long snapper. And he doesn't get any credit. He gets, if he does it right, he did what he was supposed to. If he messes up, then he's a goat, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And so that's very important. But I don't know that I probably would put a scholarship on a long snapper because to me it's that important, but they just don't get any credit. What do you think?
Yeah, well, they really are important, and especially you're replacing a guy in Neelan Hibbett, right, who was the long snapper, last 3/4 years, man? It might have been up 4 years. So it definitely is important. Matter of fact, when I was with the Panthers, man, and he's still there, our long snapper, his name's JJ. I think he's probably the longest tenured player in the league right now, potentially. I mean, he's probably going on like 20 years in the NFL almost. At least it seems like that. And he's been playing long snapper his whole career. So obviously what I'm getting at is, I mean, those guys, they're not easy to come by. I mean, you got to be able to snap. You got to be able to cover and do all those things. So, yeah, it is important. And to answer your question about the scholarship thing, I think, Pat, with everything that they've passed, I think everybody's technically going to be on scholarship moving forward. So I believe it'll be the same for this guy. I'm looking at him right here. Let me share this with the stream. Yeah, so his name is Eli Dutch, I believe. It says 4.5-star. I've never heard of that, Pat. Have you heard of half stars? I don't know what that means.
Hey, well, this means that There's probably zero. There's probably not any such thing as a 5-star long snapper.
Yeah, but he said 4.5. He didn't say 5 or 4. He said his name is Eli Dutch, 4.5-star 2026 long snapper. I'm just being silly, but that is his name though. I'm not making that up. It does say.
Well, I got a question. Is he self-appointed? I'm making a joke.
Yeah, no, it's a joke, Pat. But you might actually be right because I don't know. Are there rankings for long snappers? Maybe there is. I know that kickers and punters are. I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, and there's you can win those kicking camps and things. Shoot, I had a son that came to a kicking camp here in Alabama. And he finished top of the kicking camp in Clinton as a 12-year-old. But anyway, not here now. He did punt in kicking college, and he actually taught kicking, and he's actually in that kind of stuff. But now there is going to be a kicker down, and he may not even know it himself. But there's going to be a kicker down 69 Highway that I watched him kick the ball from the goal line all the way to the opposite 40-yard line in there.
Dang.
And that's a live leg, as they call it. And it won't take him long to have that boy where he's one of the premier kickers in the country. But anyway, what I called you about is these Alabama fans that are worried to death about 3-star recruits. Tomorrow is huge. You hear me? Huge. That with Crowell, and that the fact that he's been flirting with those people down there that wear that nasty orange color. I hate all shades of orange. You understand that crimson orange, Texas burnt orange, Auburn orange, and surely I hate Tennessee orange. But that he's been flirting with Stark. Oh my God, what's going on? Have you heard that?
I'll be honest, Pat. I don't keep up with it too much, so I know I haven't. But I will say, would it shock me? No, because we know Texas. They do a good job recruiting. They're using their resources well. And look, they just flipped that 5-star edge guy from Oregon after he just took a cannonball with Dan Lanning 2 weeks prior, man. So obviously they got some secret sauce going on there that is probably is green and rhymes with funny.
Well, it's called bags. It's called bags.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely bags. And maybe duffel bags.
Maybe so, but Pat, but we'll see how they manage that track now with the whole NIL Go and the powerhouse stuff, all the the clearinghouse. They're going to have to legitimize it at least. So we'll see how that looks.
They won't hire me, and I'll work cheap. And I was a federal auditor for nearly 30 years. Hey, and because I sail country don't mean I am. When they set me in to get you, you were got.
Dang. Sounds like they need you. Well, Pat, give me an update, Pat, because we had people asking for you. Again, you're our recruiting specialist now on the Miller's Edge. Just so you know, I don't know if you were aware of that, but you are. You've been given that title. People are asking for you, Pat, with these commits that we picked up. They want to know, what are your thoughts on them? What's the deal with these guys we picked up? And you mentioned it. People are concerned with the 3 stars. What do you see in these guys that we got?
The 3 stars, we got one of them that Michigan wanted him, Tennessee wanted him, and Miami wanted him. The people that were wishing for him and he was signing with Alabama tells me that that we have a very good evaluation of talent and that he hasn't been to any camps. That defensive lineman that it's all, as Super Joe likes to say, it's all gravy. And by the middle of July, and mark my words, the middle of July, Alabama's going to have no less than 4 5-star recruits that are committed. Until you got them signed in December, you hadn't got them. But at least on the commit list. and that'll be a whole lot. It might put a few people's minds at ease, but these Alabama fans, I can't understand them. They want everything. They want total satisfaction immediately, and that everything now is a process more so than it was when Coach Saban was here. I mean, you got to nurse these recruits along. Once you get them committed or talking to you, then it's, you know, you got to be recruiting them every cut and pick your day. There's no such thing as loyalty.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, no, that's true, man. It takes a lot, and we even talked about this yesterday with Carson, and it was a really good point with the new, you know, revenue sharing, you know, format. You're going to have to really try to find ways to, you know, because it's like a salary cap, right? So you're not going to be able to go and just get these guys. So let me ask you this, Pat. You said 4 5-star commits. Is that what you said in July? Did I hear that right? How do you think they're going to be able to navigate that with the whole new revenue sharing model? You think it's possible to bring in that many 5-stars?
I read something the other day that there's going to be, and it gave a breakdown. There's going to be a whole lot of players that aren't making $80,000 a year. But
no, that's true.
In colleges, you know, if somebody been willing to give you $80,000 a year in college, hey, you could have dated some fine-looking women. You're a good-looking fella, but if you'd have had $8,000 in your pocket, you really could have dated some fine-looking women, could you not?
I mean, yeah, with the way the world works, man. Yeah, people definitely they definitely lean towards money, man. I'd imagine so. But hey, luckily I had my priorities straight, man. I wasn't really doing all that in college.
Yeah, I mean, hey, your daddy, your mama and daddy raised a fine young man, and tell your daddy I said so.
Oh, I appreciate that.
He should be very, very proud.
No, I appreciate that.
I think he is.
No, I think he is, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this the next couple of days. And by July the 4th, there's going to be fireworks. I just hope that these people, kids don't want to play around. They want to just, you know, take and put the hat on, call it a day.
Call it a day, you say?
And stay with the time.
They'll definitely, they're not jumping ship over it, but I mean, we just know that, you know how it works, man. I hate to say this, but our fan base can be a little spoiled at times, to be fair. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. I think that's just, look, that's calling a spade, man.
But look, hey, there's 100,000 for argument's sake, black, then he holds 100,000. Hey, you know how many it takes to change the light bulb? One. Well, it takes 999,000 or whatever it is, 99,990 to talk about how good the old one was.
Yeah.
And that's the way we are.
That's fair.
They're always talking about how good the old one was or how good the quarterback is on the bench. Not doing something to lift the quarterback up that's on the field.
Oh, the backup quarterback. I don't know if you've ever heard this, Pat. Backup quarterback's the best player on every roster, man. According to the fan base.
Yeah, according to the fan base.
According to the fan base, backup quarterback's the best player that they've ever seen.
Yeah, and if he wants, if he plays. But anyway, but we got us a quarterback. Ty Simpson's going to lead us to the promised land. I'm a thorough believer that this ain't. And what about this? Well, I got to ask you a question. What about this group that are saying that Alabama has pitiful wide receivers? We're ranked toward the bottom of the SEC with receivers, the bottom of the country.
Wait, who?
Have they never heard of Jalen Hill? I remember what Jalen Hill was before he got hurt, and he's back healthy now, from what I understand. I think God help him.
Wait, hold on. You're going to have to direct me to where you saw that. I haven't seen it. Who has us ranked that low?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they talking bad about our wide receiver coach.
I think you're trying to make some bulletin board material, Pat. I think you're trying to do what the FSU quarterback was doing. I haven't seen anybody say we're that at the bottom of the barrel in the SEC.
Well, it's beautiful. They're talking so bad about us at wide receiver.
Nah, Pat. I know what you're doing, Pat. You're trying to get those guys some bulletin board material. You want me to go to the 1st and 10 event tonight and say, hey, man, one of my callers was telling me, y'all receivers, man, you guys are pitiful this year.
Look it up. I promise you. We're down. I mean, they are talking so bad about us because they can't remember. These people are stupid. They never study history. They don't know who Jalen Hale is. Jalen Hale came to the University of Alabama as a 9-star wide receiver. And
he's a
real deal. He's speed personified.
He's a really good player. I said, no, he's a really good player. Really, really good player.
I'm a Jalen Hale fan.
Me too.
All right. You have a blessed afternoon. Thank you for taking my call.
Always, Pat. Likewise, man. We'll talk soon. Good deal. Our buddy Pat, his new role is, recruiting specialist here on the Miller's Edge. I don't even know if he agreed to it. We'll just send him the contract. Or not. He'll just be that. All right, we got to hit a timeout. We come back. We keep on rolling on this Wednesday edition of the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC. All right, guys, what do you think about that? Pat said 4 5-stars will be committed here by mid-July. That's a lot. 4 of them. I should have asked him who he was talking about. I'll be honest, man. I really don't. I don't even know who is who with this recruiting stuff. Have you seen Jaire Edwards? I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Lord forgive me, but some of these names nowadays, man, like these parents, man, they got to come on, man. That's not even bad, but it's like the pronunciation. I feel like every name I pronounce nowadays, I have to like second guess. Can we get back to the the easy names? Let me stop. I sound like my dad. Jaire Edwards. Am I pronouncing that right, guys? Anyway, have I seen his highlights? That's going to be our safety. I have not. I'll pull him up, though. Is he good? We got our wrestling highlights again. Let's see. You said Jaire Edwards. Safety. See, this is how I know I don't know what I'm talking about. I thought that guy was a linebacker. Who's the linebacker that y'all told us to look at and we looked at his tape? I like that linebacker we watched. I liked him. He's a good player. Yeah, I don't think I've seen this guy. I don't know, Carson. It says he's got. I see as soon as I see Oregon at the top of these. Yeah, Griffin, that guy. Yeah. Yeah, I like that guy. See, like if I'm being honest, there's like very few recruits that I've seen recently that I feel like I'm just like, oh man, yeah, I feel like this guy is going to be. I can watch him and already like, he's got some. A lot of these other guys, I mean, like, you see potential, but they're not like necessarily blowing me away off first impression. Let me watch this guy's tape though. Maybe this guy will be like that Griffin guy. Let's see if he's like the Griffin guy. Do they have his junior highlights? Let's see it, Carson. All right, man. You know what you're talking about. So I got faith that you wouldn't steer me wrong. Wait. Somebody has him 91% to Bama. This guy? I see 100% in Georgia right here. Y'all done turned me into a recruiting show, man. I'm just playing. No, I'm just playing. All right, let's see this real quick. Let me turn on the ad so I know we're coming
Brian
back.
Harding Construction is woman-owned and strongest steel, a specialty manufacturing firm with expertise in structural steel fabrication, ASME code piping and vessels, CNC machine work, welding, laser cutting, pipe fitting, industrial maintenance, and crane rentals. With a proven track record of over 30-plus years of experience, no one is better fit for the job. For an evaluation, contact Brian Harding Construction today at 205-752-9611. Again, that's Brian Harding Construction at 205-752-9611.
This is Miller's Edge on Tide 100.9.
And welcome back into this Wednesday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, presented by the Good Feet Store, America's arch support experts. Just got done talking to our recruiting specialist expert, Pat. Big thanks to Pat giving us some updates. He's predicting 4 5-stars, Chase, 4 of them now. And I don't know how that looks like in our revenue cap moving forward, but We'll see how it works out. Honestly, honestly, Chase, I'll be honest, man. I'm really curious to see, and I'm gonna ask them, generally speaking, kind of how that works, right? Like what is kind of like some ideal, I guess, allotment. Like, for example, we know the number for a quarterback, transfer portal quarterback, is anywhere from $2 to $4 million allegedly. And we're talking about, like, let's just break this down. This is what I'm saying. Like, I'm really curious to see how this plays out and if you really are going to be able to recruit like that moving forward. $18 million. So let's start. Let's go from the top, Chase. $20.5 million. It then goes to $18 million because allegedly, at least everybody in the SEC, that's what Greg Burns said, I believe. 2.5 of their budget goes to new scholarships. So everybody's at 18, not 20.5, at 18. That's for the whole athletic department. Football, they're getting probably, I would say, on average, about 70% across, these schools. Now, could be more, could be less, but we'll say 70%. That 70% of 18 million, I think, was like 12.6. 75% would be like 13.5. So let's just say in the middle, we'll say $13 million is being dedicated to football. Hell, if you're paying your quarterback $3 million, that leaves you with about $10 million for the rest of your roster. You got a guy like Ryan Williams, man, and people are probably willing to offer him up to, $2 million, whatever. I would imagine he's probably, Chase, what would we say would be fair? And again, I'm not pocket watching. These aren't real numbers. We're just playing a hypothetical game. What do you think? You think $1 million for a receiver like Ryan Williams or Jeremiah Smith? I mean, I feel like that's like I hate to say it, that might be like the minimum. You think, right, Chase? To keep a guy like that? Yeah, so yeah, like at least you would think. So, all right, so let's say, we'll say the low end for our quarterback. If you see a guy like Ty Simpson, luckily he's self-grown, or however you want to call it, right? Like you recruited him, so you're not paying him $2, $3, $4 million. So you're saving a lot of money there, which is nice. But say we're just talking about any other team, $2 million on a quarterback, $1 million for a receiver. That's 3 out of your 13. You got $10 million to work with. Let's just try to average it, then we'll go from there. Because Pat was like, I heard a lot of guys aren't even going to be making like 80. He's 100% right. Because if you even look at but even before, when they were doing just the collective pay and stuff, I used to try to explain to people, because people always just assume all these guys were making like hundreds of thousands of dollars. I was like, no. You would have the quarterback making the most. You'd have a couple other guys, like maybe 2-3 other guys making, probably like mid 6 figures. And then the rest, I would say, like quality starters were probably averaging like 150 maybe for, a few spots. In the rest, I mean, you're talking like 80 and below. So really, outside of your, I would say you maybe had like 20, and I'm just making this up and I'm really just guesstimating this. I would say you probably had, you had 20 guys making at least 100K, right? Because you got 22 starters. So we'll just say 22. Let's do 22 just to do that. 22 guys. I was trying to subtract like the quarterback and a key guy on defense, but we'll say 22. 100K. I mean, that would be what, $220,000, or excuse me, 2.2 million. So I guess you do have a good bit of money, Chase, to go around. Because say you paid, like, we'll just say 2.5 for your starters, because they're all making 100,000. Obviously, there's going to be more here and there. Quarterbacks 3, that will put you at 5.5. Damn, I guess you do have plenty of money to pay these guys, Chase. If you think about it, if you're working with $13 million, and that was if you paid all the starters 100,000. And then we'll say the backups are averaging 75. So let's add another. We'll do 75 times. We'll do 30 guys this time. Yeah, still only another. Dang, now that I think about it, Chase, I think there's going to be more money to be paid to these players than I initially was thinking. Anyway, I don't know. I just always like trying to think about that. And now that I've done the numbers, it's probably not going to be as hard as I was thinking it was. So can you get 4 or 5 stars and still pay those guys competitively with other schools? Yeah, you probably can. You might have to make some changes and stuff, but hey, that's why you got GMs nowadays. Matter of fact, Carson says, I firmly believe it. Player Pro Morgan. Oh, you're talking about recruiting that one guy, which I think is a 5-star. Hell, if we get that linebacker, Chase, that we did watch, X Griffin, and then this guy we were just watching, Jaire Edwards, man. Look, I love defense. You talk about 2 dudes that look to be guys, right? I would love picking those guys up, but with recruiting away stuff like that works. I don't know, but we'll see. But I will say those are two guys that I've watched that I'd actually do feel confident saying, man, like I would be excited about bringing guys like that in, man, because they both displayed great athleticism, physicality really jumped out, which was huge. Linebacker, man, he kind of gave me like Jihad type vibes, right? Kind of lining them up different places, playing off the edge, playing stack back. This safety was definitely a physical guy, Jaire Edwards. Definitely his technique, though, sometimes he had some bad eyes. He's really trying to get so physical with some of those routes. He made the plays, but in college, man, you know, they'll clean all that up. Anyway, we're about to hit another timeout, but before we do that, this is one little video clip of the many that we've got for today. And so yesterday we talked a lot about FSU's quarterback, Tommy Castellanos, talking about Alabama, all this and that, right? Well, we got some backup guys, and it's not coming from somebody like me, former Alabama guy who, you know, obviously is going to defend Alabama. Comes from my dad's neck of the woods. Well, I guess where I was, you know, born and raised. Lenora Sellers, man, South Carolina quarterback. He was asked about the comments made by Tommy Castellanos. And again, Lenore's played us last year in Tuscaloosa in Bryant-Denny Stadium. He went against his Alabama defense without Nick Saban. So if anything, you know, I would take his word for it. So I wanted to play for you guys his response to Tommy Castellanos' comments about Alabama not being the same without Nick Saban.
There was a big thing today. Thomas Castellanos was talking on 3, and they play Alabama to open up the season. I know you guys played Alabama last year. You lost them by 2. You have them on your schedule once again. You know them being in the SEC. But he questioned Alabama now without Nick Saban and how people should view them. Since you played them last year and you have them again this year, how do you view Alabama headed into this football season?
Shoot, Alabama's still Alabama to me. They were good last year. They're a good team. They're big, strong, and fast. That's how I remember watching them growing up. And I don't really think they've changed that much. Obviously, they got new coaching staff and all that, but that's still SEC ball. That's still Alabama. So
I mean, Lenora Sellers respects the Crimson Tide and their defense and what we had going on when he played us last year. So I give him that. Now, you know, obviously, Chase, he's a church boy, right? You know, my dad works with him, the whole ministry, so he's a good guy. So he's obviously going to be a nice guy. He's not going to say that crazy, but no, he did seem like he meant that, and he, you know, he respects us, and that's coming from a guy who's, you know, quote unquote a Heisman favorite for this upcoming season. So anyway, you got Mighty Mouse over in Florida State running his mouth, and here you got this guy is actually, you know, doing something, good quarterback and showing his respect. So shout out to Lenora Sellers, man. Seems like a great guy. Sure, my dad would agree on that. Maybe he's listening. There you go. I gave your Gamecocks a shout out. We got to hit a timeout when we come back. We keep on rolling. Chat's heating up again. If you guys want to hop on the stream, man, it's completely free at the Miller's Edge on YouTube. You can interact in the chat. We got a lot of good conversations going on in there. Plus, we got plenty of videos to dive into coming up. 205-342-9904 is the number. If you guys want to hop on the phone lines, we're open. Feel free to do so. Love to hear from you. And all that will be coming up right after this quick timeout right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, presented by the Good Feet Store, America's arch support experts. We'll be right back. Oh, whoops. Stanley about took out the mic. I need to work on, guys. I need to work on, like, breathing while talking. I think that's my problem, man. Talking so fast, not breathing. Oh, man. There we go. Dad, I just need to get my dad's ass back on here, co-host, so I'm not talking 24/7. All right, let's catch back up. So on 3 has that guy's Bama, you know, not commit, but lean, whatever you want to call it. That'd be good. Yeah, no, he looks solid. I like the Edwards dude. I love the physicality. Definitely more of a box type safety for sure. 6'2", 205, that physicality, definitely more of a box safety, which would be good in the system. With those coverage reps, just, you know, eye discipline and just, you know, some fundamental stuff. But again, he's in high school, man. I'm not going to sit there and nitpick everything. The potential's there, man. Again, you can always, that stuff, you can coach that stuff, man. That's what coaches are for. Griffin likes Texas, trying to steal him from Bama. Well, shit. If we're going toe-to-toe with Texas, I ain't gonna lie to you. I wouldn't necessarily say it's 100% lock on us, man. You can't count Texas out when it comes to this recruiting stuff. Cutie says Ryan's getting paid roughly $2 million. You think? Hey, man. I mean, you talking about the salary cap we got? I wouldn't mind putting about $2 million towards them. I mean, obviously with the NIL stuff, I mean, if you could find, because he wants to be here. So, I mean, I guarantee, obviously, like somebody probably could come and offer more money. He's not going to do that. But what works out for us is we can literally just use all those marketing resources we have and just get him as many NIL deals as possible to help kind of compensate. Yeah, just like Dwight said, he's making bank from NIL. So the revenue ain't nothing. Well, I wouldn't say it ain't nothing, man. Money is money. I mean, if you can keep finding ways to make more of it, especially a guy like that, I mean, shoot, I mean, the marketing that he can do, he's got that kind of charisma to him. He's good off-field, marketability. Shoot, the more the merrier, man. And hopefully he's, investing it right now too. It'd be great. BYU just signed number 1 quarterback for 2026 and the number 1 player overall. Yeah, I saw that the basketball guy committed to them on ESPN. But he signed a $6.5 million deal to play for BYU. Well, here's the thing. The basketball guy they got before the whole thing went through. So that means they grandfathered that deal in probably. Anybody that had, that's what these schools did. Anybody that had collective-based deals before, they pushed it through before midnight. So these guys got all that money up front. They literally just got a lump sum of money. Instead of the monthly installments, they just gave them the lump sum. That way they could have it already put through.
The high 94. I'm James Spann.
Brock says, are you going to get paid? Are we talking about from like the legislation? I get some back pay, yeah.
Tuscaloosa.
It ain't as much as I feel like I would have not feel like I would have earned if I was in it. And welcome back into the Miller's Edge, time 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Hope you guys are doing well. We've been talking about a number of things. We just heard from Lenora Sellers. I just wanted to play that real quick. We already talked plenty about Mighty Mouse at FSU, but we got to, I guess, I don't know, show of respect from Lenora Sellers, South Carolina's quarterback, really good player who played us last year. He said he doesn't think Bama's changed that much. Still fast, big, strong, physical. So, I'll say from my perspective, I mean, are we up to par with, the defense that we had kind of like, my years or years before? Not quite, no. But I still think, we obviously are, really good team, got some really good guys, 100%. And I think that's, more than fair to say. All right, let's move along. We got a few little videos to get to. Next one I want to get to, let's go to the other side of the football. So we've been talking a little bit about the offensive line a few weeks ago, I guess last week or 2 weeks, whenever it was. But I know Cole Kublik gave his breakdown of the top units in the SEC, but he did join his buddy and his co-host, Greg McElroy, on Greg's show that he does with ESPN, Always College Football, where they discussed the Alabama offensive line, which to me, and you guys have heard me say this, I think they will be one of the biggest keys to the success of this football team this upcoming season. So let's hear what Cole Kublik had to say when he discussed it with Greg McElroy on ESPN College Football's podcast over on YouTube.
Number 4, it's Alabama. Some people think this is the best group in the country. I'm not there yet. I think they lose their best player in Tyler Booker, and that's not just along the offensive line. That's their best player on the team last season. Having to replace him with Cam Dewberry will be incredibly difficult, but Dewberry has logged some solid reps at times at A&M in years past. I think center in Parker Brailsford is probably the best center in the country athletically. He's gotten bigger. He's gotten stronger. I have no concerns whatsoever with him. And then at right guard, Jaden Roberts was banged up all of last year. I mean, the guy was hurt all last year and still at times had some decent reps. Did struggle at times, but that was partly because of injury. So if he can stay healthy, should be in good shape. And I'm just hoping that Caden Proctor reaches his ceiling this year. I mean, that might happen. That might not happen. He's missed spring multiple times, but he's got an outrageously high ceiling. If he can reach his potential this year, then I think left tackle's got a chance to be an All-American, center's got a chance to be All-American, right guard has a chance to be an All-American. There's not many teams that can say they have 3 guys that might have All-American candidacy. So right tackle still a position of concern naturally, but across the board, how do you feel about Bama's group?
Well, it starts with Brailsford up front, and you and I loved him at Washington. Obviously, we loved him in Alabama. You hear about some of the stuff he's doing in the weight room, which not a lot of people hear about, is what might be most impressive about him at his stature. And he's not huge. He's not really wide. But I really think playing next to Tyler Booker last year was the most beneficial thing that's happened to him in his career, because a lot of how Booker played, you saw Brailsford a bit different. I agree with you. I thought he was drafted where he was because he excelled and absolutely be a road grader. I mean, he can be an earth mover. Mentally needs to get on the same page, have an understanding of the playbook, where things are headed, where things are going, and then obviously has to stay healthy. But you give me Proctor and his ability to move people with Brailsford and Roberts, we'll figure everything else out. I will say this, Greg, the one benefit that group had last year that not a lot of people focus on is you essentially had 2 lighter guards playing on the field at tight end. How much they use it will depend on defenses and depend on the quarterback and the receivers and some of how that's operating. But he's going to have the ability to go north and south. It's going to be there. And I'm with you. I think Brailsford's the best center in college football. So you've got a bunch of power that's going to be packed into that group. A lot of them have played snaps together, log snaps together, high ceiling. And they're just still a little bit – there are a few more ifs than I think some people are referencing when they're talking about Alabama's group right now.
Yeah, perfectly fair. I think right tackle's an if. I think left guard's an if. I'm cautiously optimistic, though. You talk to folks down there, they feel they're not losing sleep over their right tackle right now, which I think is a welcome sign from Alabama faithful from where they were a year ago. At number 3,
hey, keep in mind, too, real quick on Bama, like Gino Vandermark played a decent amount last year. And when I asked Kalen DeBoer about him playing, I was wondering what was going on with the guy in front of him. And he made it very clear. This has nothing to do with the player in front of him. This is how he's been practicing and he's been performing. So you have another player there that is probably on the brink of being ready to be a full-time starter. And if that needs to be at one of the guard spots, either or, he probably has the ability to do that. So 56 could end up being a really valuable piece of that Alabama puzzle this year.
Yeah, definitely worth watching for sure. Forces went on the field at right guard at times last year, and that was not – Jaden Roberts a little banged up for sure, so maybe that had to do with it. But when he was in there, he played well.
So there you have it. That was them breaking down the offensive line. I'll say sounds very reminiscent of what I've been saying about the group, man. Parker Brailsford, the guy that, my dad used to try to be funny with, right? And I told him, I'm like, listen, man, if you watch the tape, if you go talk to these people, man, like this guy is extremely talented. He's immensely talented. Don't overlook him just because of the stature or whatever. He came from Washington. We're so obsessed with the Southern cornbread stuff here. But all jokes aside, man, that dude can play some football. And so I'm glad he's getting that recognition. We've been talking about it, Chase. Y'all can go back and listen to the show a year ago. I've been bragging on this dude saying he is that guy at center. So they're right. It's going to build around him. I agree with Cole, though. I mean, the thing with Proctor, I've been saying it, man. If he can just shed some weight, and I know he's naturally – a broader type guy, you know what I mean? Like he's going to be a bigger guy. He moves decent for his size, but if he could just get in better shape and lose some weight, man, he would see such an improvement in his play, especially in the area of weakness for him, which is, he struggles on the edge with those speed guys, man. And that's going to be huge for this team this upcoming season, especially talking about, wanting to do things like obviously throwing the ball, moving it downfield through the air a little bit more, right? Everybody's optimistic about that. We need that tackle play to be better. We all know about the question mark at right tackle, but I agree with them too with the guards, man. It's going to be tough to replace a guy like Booker, but Dewberry's got experience, and Vandermark, people forget about him, but he did play a lot of snaps, and it is true. It's not because it's necessarily injuries, but because that guy was showing in practice that he deserved and earned those reps. So they got a decent unit, and I agree with everything they're saying, and they're pretty much echoing what we've been saying here on the show. So just wanted to bring that up again. We like always hearing other voices. That way you guys aren't just listening to me say it or my dad say it. You hear other people say the same stuff. So obviously if everybody's kind of on the same page, I'd imagine there's something to it. So there's that. We got to hit the top of the hour break. When we come back, we keep on rolling on this Wednesday edition of the Miller's Edge. Phone lines are open, 205-342-9904. If you guys want to get in on the conversation. Top of the hour break. We'll be right back right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Oh man. All right, Q. It is about that time for my daily quick restroom break, man. Don't jump on me. It's because I'm drinking this Stanley so much, man. It's Stanley. I'm probably overly hydrated. See what's going on. Roll Tide, welcome in. JS Web Music, what's up? Roll Tide, welcome in. But yeah, Brock. So yes, former players, if you played back until 2016, you do qualify for some back pay, and it's decided on a number of different factors. But look, as they say in Spanish, algo es algo. I mean, something is better than nothing. But obviously, I'd imagine it's definitely not what we probably would have made if we actually not even close. It's not what we would have made if we were actually, in this era. I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick, guys. I'll be right back.
Be suspended for 2 games, not 3. Miami won at San Francisco 4-2, beating Justin Verlander, who's 0-5. The Angels on a 10th inning homer edged Boston 3-2. New Steelers quarterback Aaron Rodgers says he's pretty sure this will be his last NFL season.
The Tide 100.9 WTBC 1230 Sports Radio studio is presented by B-Dry Alabama. B-Dry Waterproofing. Online at bdryalabama.com.
Are you receiving unemployment? Your benefits could be at risk. Here's how you can protect yourself and your benefits. Never respond to mail notifying you of a false claim in your name. Never answer a text message asking you to verify your account. And only respond to official Alabama Department of Labor's social media pages. Report fraud at labor.alabama.gov/fraud. Brought to you by the Alabama Department of Labor, ADA, and the station. The Alabama Department of Labor is an equal opportunity employer program. Auxiliary aids and services available upon request to individuals with disabilities. Dial 711 for TTY accessibility.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard has led to a lot of firsts for me. It paid for me to be the first person in my family to go to school. That education got me to the first day at my dream job, which I can still hold while I serve part-time. That job and the home loan benefits I got from the Army National Guard helped me buy my first house. I also know that I will be one of the first to respond if my community ever needs me.
Sponsored by the Alabama Army National Guard. Aired by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
From our home base in Birmingham, Alabama, we are here treating patients from every generation
across the United States
and from around the world.
We're here for the rookies and the dreamers, trying to make a name for themselves.
We are here for the achievers,
who are resilient
and won't take no for an answer. We're here for the coaches,
athletic trainers, and mentors who are shaping the next generation.
All right. Algo is algo. That's right. I'll hold it down for you. Go ahead. Give me my money out again. I understand that, but Christian, you earned it. You gave it your all for Bama. You're one of my favorite Bama players. Oh man, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, man. I mean, look, it is
licensing of the person making an offer.
It's definitely nice that they do the back pay stuff, but I do feel bad for guys that were before 2016, right? I get there's not endless amounts of money, but I do feel bad for that. And then to make it even worse, bro, NIL was making it hard for doing this. Think about selling advertising. Everybody was too busy focused on NIL. And welcome back into the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. We are presented by the Good Feet Store, America's art sport experts. Check them out if you're in any type of pain, foot pain, knee pain, back pain, you name it. But let me remind you real quick about our friends over at R&R Cigars. If you guys are big into the, combat sports, UFC, boxing, all that stuff, man, make sure you guys check out our friends over at R&R Cigars this weekend. They'll be playing the Deontay Wilder fight, obviously. Tuscaloosa native, former heavyweight champion. He's boxing this weekend. They will be playing that fight there. You can go watch it for free. Enjoy a nice stick. They got the best humidor in the Southeast. But then they also, Saturday, they'll have the big UFC event. You got Charles Oliveira fighting. It's a big loaded card. You don't want to miss it. Again, they put on the fight. They're paying for it. That way you don't have to. So make sure you guys go check that out at R&R Cigars, 2703 Gary Fitz Street here in Tuscaloosa, right there in the downtown area. You can't miss it. The big white mansion. They got a humidor full of cigars. Any cigar that you can probably name, they've got it in there and more. They also got over 160 bourbons that you can try. So make sure you guys go take advantage of that. Go have a great weekend. Kick back, relax, and enjoy the big fight weekend that they've got over there at R&R Cigars. Plus, on their website, make sure you guys use that code Miller's Edge, MILLERSEDGE. Anytime you make a purchase, doesn't matter what it is, you get a discount, right? They do have the 20% off 20 cigars or more, but say you're not ordering that much, use that code Miller's Edge, and you get a big discount as well, plus free shipping on orders $100 or more. Again, that is R&R Cigars, the official cigar provider of Alabama football since 2014. All right, Chase. We've gone through a number of these little videos. We got a number of videos still we need to get into. Where do we start? Well, I know initially I mentioned this. I know we always get into this conversation because, look, it's just pretty, it's fair, right? People want to talk about it. Well, what happens? What if Alabama, has another 9-3 season? What's going to look like? What will happen? Well, someone asked Josh Pate that. I know we've discussed it, but Josh Pate is finally getting that question as well. So let's go ahead and dive into that. Let's see what Josh Pate thinks will happen in this chaos scenario for Alabama if that were to happen again and we see Alabama missing the playoffs after another 9-win season.
Massachusetts. Hey, what if Alabama repeats what they did last year? They go 9-3, they miss the playoff in DeBoer's second year. Does the panic level go through the roof? Yeah, absolutely. It's through the roof. The truth is the fan base will lose it. If they go 9-3, if they miss the playoff, fan base will lose it. Should they? Well, that's not what he asked. The reality is this is well within the cluster of possibilities. If we simulate the season 100 times, and it's little dots on the wall, we call that a cluster. There are a lot of 9-3s in there. There's some 10-2s. There's some 8-4s, believe it or not. There are a lot of 9-3s in there. It's not even all that unreasonable. One of the great mysteries, the great unknowns that will forever be an unknown is what would...
Chase, I got to pause that right there. I'm not going to lie to you because I haven't listened to this video. We're all listening to it for the first time together, unless you guys have seen it. I'll be honest, Chase. Normally, Pate is very... I wouldn't call him a chapsticker, but he's definitely very much, glass half full type of guy when it comes to Alabama. He's definitely very much pump the brakes. He's going to pump as much positive. Kind of like me, right? You know what I mean? Like, my dad is just, hey, man, he's just going to just say whatever comes to mind. And if he has any type of doubt creep in, he's going to scorch it and just say, hey, it's all going to be bad. Payne's normally, kind of how I am, right? Trying to, be as positive as possible, but while also maintaining his integrity and his, his honest takes. But I'm not gonna lie, Chase. I mean, he just basically said, number one, it would be chaos, and number two, it's actually kind of reasonable to throw that out there. And I'll be honest with you, I know like people get frustrated when my dad says some of those takes, but to be fair, if you really just are real with yourself, in today's college football, like when he's saying like just simulating the season, the 9-3 popping up, that is realistic if you look at who we're playing. And it is realistic if you simulate a team like Georgia's season. There's going to be a lot of 9-3s predicted for a team like them. That's just kind of where we're at in college football. And I think the sooner people start to realize that, the more, I guess the quicker they'll become accustomed to hearing some of these things without having a jolt of panic, go through their body. Like, oh, he said 9-3 with Alabama. No, never. No, well, guys, we're living in a different era anyway. Let's continue.
What would have happened if Saban never left? He did. At the right time, he did. But what would have happened if he never left? See, this kind of question and the freak out that'll happen if Bama only goes 9-3, that's the Saban tax. The Saban tax was always going to be there. Whoever takes over for him is going to have gigantic shoes to fill. This is not a concept that is foreign to most. But I wonder if he never left. If Chris Lowe, best in the business, if Chris Lowe never breaks the news, Nick Saban's retiring. And Saban's just there last year. What's their record? If he's there this year, what's their record? history will remember Saban as the best to ever do it, rightfully so. And they'll remember that he was dominant, number one program or number 1A program right up until the end. In fact, his final game was in the college football playoff. Bama never fell off, which is true. But Bama did come back down to earth in the latter stages of Saban's tenure. They were a heavily penalized team, but also they played a ton of close games. And the reason I'm mentioning that is not to take anything away from Nick Saban. My point is, how do we know if Saban was still there, he wouldn't have gone 9-3 last year too? How do we know if he wasn't there that he may not go 9-3 this year too? And I want to take you back to 2023 because they had a bunch of close games then. They lost to Texas. They had probably the worst game I've ever seen them play under him against South Florida. Ended up winning 17-3. They beat A&M by 6. They beat Arkansas by 3. They needed the 4th and 31 miracle to win the Iron Bowl. They were the equivalent of a 3 or 4 loss team in terms of 100-game simulation that year. Let me cut in really quick.
While he's doing his little in-show commercial, I'll say this, man. Chase, he's actually spitting facts, man. And if you think about it, he's 100% right. If you look back at those years, the difference was Saban and his staff, they found a way to avoid that, right? And that's why you really got to tip your hat and really appreciate the coaching job that Coach Saban was doing, because he's 1,000% right. You give even that 2023 team a different coaching staff, I don't think they make it nearly as far as they did. Maybe close, but I agree with him that you probably are looking at a realistic 9-3 that year, at least, or I should say at best, because there were a lot of close games, even the year prior, right? I mean, he's got a point. He's got a point. If you really dissect it, right? If you dissect the games, if you dissect what we were seeing, not go off of the record of the scoreboard, the final. You dissect really what we are seeing from the penalties, from the close games to the barely. He's not wrong. He's spitting facts, Chase.
Titles at Alabama. So he had all the equity built up in the world. Kalen DeBoer's brand new. He has no equity built up. And so if he goes 9-3 2 years in a row, it's an existential crisis. And mark my words, it will be. I'm not even fighting that. Okay, it's a losing battle. If he goes 9-3 again, Wayne from Wetumpka, he's at the door. He wants answers. Greg Byrne, what are you going to do? And Greg Byrne's like, huh? He said, yeah. Who are you going to go hire? Well, for what? A new football coach. Yes. That would be the tenor. That would be the tone in the state of Alabama. Now, what it would do also is it would kill the aura of Alabama football. Like right now, it is reasonable to say Saban's gone. Kalen DeBoer's here. Yeah, they missed the playoff last year, but man, there's still something that is extra special about that script A. It's a different vibe when they walk in your building. It's a different vibe when coaches walk in my high school and they got that logo on the polo here. That still exists. If they miss the playoff a second straight year, it's not that Bama's a poverty program, but that aura is probably gone. And they're just another of the really good programs out there.
Chase, I'm going to pause that right there. And I hate doing this because I feel like I'm like, oh, it's like a pick me. Like, oh, let me pat myself. Chase, who has been saying this? I've been saying this for months now. It's crazy. That's literally what I've been saying. That's why I think it's so important this season, because for that very specific reason. All of our listeners, you guys have heard me talk about this. That's why it's important. You can live with, the first season. People still, like, they understand the first year. All right, it's the first year. But 2 back-to-back years, man, that aura, as he used, right? That's the term us younger folks, we use, right? Takes a big hit, and you don't want that to happen.
That's how quick I think that can happen. So what I'm looking at with them is all the indicators are there pointing up. They're recruiting very well. They have got an extremely good staff, and they got the quarterback of the future in Keelan Russell. So if they go 9-3 this year, it would be a crisis for a lot of people. I wouldn't look at it that way, but I mean, I'm not necessarily prone to thinking that way. What I was most worried about for their sake when Saban left, before we ever knew who was going to take over for him, was, is recruiting going to fall off a cliff? Is everybody going to leave? Is the staff that replaces Saban and his staff going to be half what they were? Well, a lot of those concerns are more than erased. The opposite's true. They're still getting really good players. They're still a really good portal destination. But more importantly, dude, that staff's really good coaching staff. So the results should work downstream of that, is my point. So I'm not really worried about them. In fact, I think Bama will be a playoff team this year. But if they're not, if they're 9-3, then yeah, I don't know how else to put it. It will be perceived as a crisis, even if it's not.
Fair. That's fair. I think that's very fair. Chase, let me ask you real quick, man. I mean, in terms of what he said, and with it being a crisis, you think that's pretty? And I know you're a little bit newer to the fan base, but I mean, from what you've sensed, how do you think fans would react if that ends up happening, based off what you've seen thus far?
Man, oh my, it would be. Do you remember in Monsters Inc. when Boo got discovered in the Chinese restaurant and everybody went crazy? That's going to be every day in Tuscaloosa if they go 9-3 and barely make it to the college football playoffs. That's what you're going to see. So from an Alabama fan standpoint, yeah, crisis is on the horizon. So yeah.
But you know what I will say is, and I actually, me and him are like aligned, eye to eye with what he said, though. Even though it will be a crisis for virtually everybody else, my rational mind would tell me, like, even if we did have that this year, would our aura take a hit? Yeah, it would. I still believe that. I've been saying that for months. But I know that's not the end of the world, because look, year 3, they could run the table, go to the playoffs, reload, and next thing you know, people forget about those two. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's an indicator for the next, however many years, so to speak, but it will set us back a little bit in certain aspects, and it will probably cause some chaos. Do I think that's the scenario this year? No, I don't think so. I think we've got more than what it takes to to improve off of last year and not see that this season. But again, it's the dog days of summer. We're going to talk about hypotheticals. We're going to break down clips and stuff like that. I just thought that was an interesting one. But it did lead me to a question that I want to pose for you guys. I want y'all to answer this on the chat, on the app messages, the radio listeners. Call in if you want to, 205-342-9904. He made a good point about, if you really dissect the last few years, even under Coach Saban, those were a lot of 9-3 type team-based performances. That was a whole mouthful, but you get what I'm saying. Our record showed, and I'll go back on the video where he showed it, last few years with Coach Saban. I mean, they were all like, 10-win seasons at least. But, yeah, you look at it right here, 2023, 12-2. If you really think about it, guys, if you look at the games and how we played, I mean, the performances, a lot of them were more of a 9-3 type team, which very much could have been the result had we not had certain things in our favor, right, in those situations. The question that I want to pose is this made me think about that he kind of brought up. What do you guys think the record last season would have been if Coach Saban still was here and company, right? Coach Saban and his staff from 2023 was still here. What do you guys think the record would have been last year? It kind of had me thinking, because I was like, damn. And I hate to do this because I don't want to do that to Coach DeBoer. I don't want to keep with the comparisons, especially saying like, oh, would it have been better with Coach Saban? Because that's, indirectly kind of saying Coach Saban would have coached better than him. I'm not trying to do this. Look, it's just a hypothetical conversation we're talking about. But to me, I thought it was kind of an interesting point. So my question to you guys as we hit this next break here, what do you guys think the record would have been last season if Coach Saban hadn't retired yet? Say he postponed it to this year, but he still was here last year. Everything else was the same. Now, this is kind of a hard question because we really got to specify, right, Chase? Due to his retirement, we did see a number of players leave in the portal. So are we going to consider that those guys stayed, I think for the sake of this hypothetical, I think we should just say he didn't have those players, because that's not necessarily fair to say, all right, what would the record be with him and an All-American safety and Caleb Downs, not losing a cornerback like what's his name to Ole Miss, right? God, I'm forgetting his name. Amos. So let's just say the transfers that transferred, they left, but Coach Saban and company still were here. What do we think the record would have been? The same? Better? Highly doubt anybody's going to say worse. I want to get y'all's thoughts on that. 205-342-9904 is the number. We got George lined up. But again, I'm asking all you guys listening, drop it in the app inbox. I want to get y'all's answers there. On the chat, I want to get y'all's answers. What would the record be if Coach Saban was here last year with the same players, personnel, and all that stuff? We'll respond on the other side of this break right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Be right back. Let's see what you guys got in the chat. All right. And if you guys are just joining us, welcome in. If you haven't, man, drop us a like. That always helps us out. Subscribe if you haven't, man. We do this Monday through Friday, 11 to 1. But the question was, we just listened to this Josh Pate video. Just a quick little recap. A fan, I shouldn't say fan, it was someone, I guess, one of his listeners had posed this question to him. If Alabama repeated 9-3, missing the playoffs, does the panic level go through the roof? He was talking about that, giving his thoughts on it. Basically, what he was saying was, yeah, the fan base probably would react like that. Fair enough. Felt we'd lose a little bit of aura when it came to, just our not necessarily brand, like over, obviously we know, like we've had dynasties, Bear Bryant, Nick Saban, but just in terms of like where we would stand. He said it would kind of just put us on that level of the, the LSUs, right? The whoever's, these good programs, right? But not elite, which is fair to say. Long story short, it made me think, because he also made a good point. If you really watch Bama the last 3-4 years, the performances were really giving a 9-3 type team. Fortunately, Coach Saban in his masterclass of a coaching job was able to do this, right? What we're seeing here. We'll just go back to 21, because obviously they ran the table in 2020, but 21, you win the SEC. That's when you lose to Georgia national championship game. We discussed that yesterday, the injuries. So they, I wouldn't say we saw. I would say 2022 was like the first year it seemed like we kind of started taking that little bit of a dip. I think you guys probably would agree with me there. A lot of penalties, a lot of miscues, just things not really looking a little uncharacteristic for Alabama football team led by Nick Saban. Obviously, we got, you guys remember, we all remember 2023. Milroe getting benched after the Texas game, USF, the whole mess that was. Which, I would argue, you look at 2022, that was when we lost to Tennessee and LSU, both on the road. But if you look at it, guys, we had some close games. Was it Texas A&M that year? I think it was Texas A&M that year. That was a really close game. And was it Arkansas? There's another really close one. I can't remember. I don't know. I guess that's what I'm getting at with the whole question, though. But do you feel like last season the record would have been better, the same, maybe worse if Coach Saban was there? I'm just curious.
100.9.
And welcome back into Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Before the break, I posed that question for you guys. What do you guys feel the record would have been if Coach Saban was still the head coach last year? And again, I feel bad putting this question out there because I'm not trying to, indirectly, hit Coach DeBoer with the stray, right? Coach DeBoer, great dude, man. I think he's doing a good job, and I think they'll do even better this upcoming season. Just was a thought, though, because, Josh Pate made a good point about the play that we had seen from Alabama the years prior. Looking at the chat, we got a 9-3. Q says he thinks it would have been the same with Coach Saban. Brock says 10-2, maybe 11-1. Yakenji says better. So we'll say it's in at least 10-2. QDs saying at least 10-2. I would say this. I would say at least 10-2. Would 9-3 be possible if Coach Saban was here last year? Oh, absolutely. I think that's more than fair. Matter of fact, Dr. Crystal just chimed in and said same record. I think it would have been possible. But what I do think would have been, I think the difference would have been, though, guys, is just the level of preparation and attention to detail would have been a little bit higher. And that's not a shot at anybody or anything. It's just from what I saw. And I know, again, there was a lack of discipline, high penalties with Coach Saban. I get all that. But in terms of adjustments being made, I mean, Coach Saban was second to none when it came to that. Halftime adjustments, and I know that firsthand. You know what I mean? Like, I'm speaking on the experience. I just think those details, like the adjustments, the level of preparation, the level of detail and preparation, not only on the players' behalf of when they show up physically or mentally, but also from a standpoint of being ready to go play, against an opponent, knowing that, hey, this is probably what we're going to get. And if we don't get that, no worries. We're going to go to the drawing board at halftime. I mean, you always could rely on Coach Saban to make an adjustment like that. And so to me, and when I watched last season, there were, we talked about this. In my opinion, there were a lack of adjustments at times. And there just sometimes I just felt we weren't always the most prepared as we probably could be. And I think that's, that's fair for, year one under a new coach. So those are my reasonings for that. Chase, floor is yours, man. If Coach Saban was still coaching in 2024, would the Crimson Tide's record be 9-3, better, worse? What say you, Chase?
We've got to be in touch with reality. 9-3, like, guys, we're in a state that's so unpredictable, and players leaving. Like, one picture that it's always in my brain, in the 2023 season with USF, and Nick Saban walking into that tunnel, head down, drenched in rain. That is a representation of what would have went last year because of so many mistakes, so many miscues. Like, it was just too common. And I agree with you, Christian. Like, Nick Saban is the guy to change that record around and really be the guy. But Nick was already 1 foot out the door. He kind of wanted his new career to start. So we don't know where he would have been mentally. How would he would have done with the players there, because there were some new players still there. And how, some other players and social media and podcasts. We don't know how he feels about that, and how open he is with, how Kalen DeBoer is with, like, his coordinator speaking. So there would have been a lot of different things that I don't know. Like, 9-3 best, 10-2 is pushing it. I just feel like Ohio State and what they did last year, they were the best team there, and they went the record they did. But I'm glad Saban doesn't have to be in this craziness of what college football has become. Because we just don't know. He might have pulled I forgot what coach that was. I just retired mid-season. It was like, I'm done. Pieces.
Steve Spurrier, I believe, might be the guy, because I think he did it around the time. Dude was like drinking beer at practice, allegedly. I mean, I was right there in their backyard, top-ranked player in the state. He could care less. My dad was doing radio at the time. He probably heard my dad criticizing him on the radio and was like, "The hell with that kid from Spring Valley. We don't need him." But yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it was Steve Spurrier, man, abruptly left. And you know what's crazy? He set the program back, man, because it wasn't just him just quitting on the team. He stopped recruiting. He wasn't giving effort. That was bad, man. Talk about a bad exit. Bad ball on his part. But Coach Saban would never do that. Luckily, he didn't do that. And I will say, though, him retiring was kind of abruptly, and it low-key kind of did make things a little bit more difficult because of the timing of it. Coaches had already really made those changes. That normally starts happening in December. This is around February. It was hard for some guys to find some jobs. Guys left. But look, that was his decision. He completely earned that. But yeah, no, not even comparable to Steve Spurrier. But no, I get what you're saying. But dang, you're going with 9-3, Chase, for the GOAT in this last
he's the
year.
and trust me, I was born in LSU colors. My family knows Nick Saban left and right and what he's done.
Wow.
So he's the GOAT of the GOAT. There's no one comparable, but you have to be realistic in what college football is and what it was last year. Look at how many unpredictable teams just
No, I get what you're saying. I get what
Yeah.
you're saying. But let me ask you this, because I was going to ask Dr. Crystal and Q that because Q gave his losses. So when you say 9-3, Chase, you got to pick 3 teams that you felt would have beat Coach Saban last year.
Oh,
Now,
man.
the 3 losses last year, this might shift you a little bit, because I'm not gonna lie. When Q put this, I was like, oh wait, yeah. Because at first I was like, to be fair, I do understand keeping it the same. But then I was like, hold on now. That means let's look at the losses. So last year you had Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, and Tennessee. I can't see Coach Saban losing that Vanderbilt game. I just see him going. Look, I'm not saying Vanderbilt wouldn't have some success on us, because the way they were playing, the way they prepped for that game, it was a good game plan, and they attacked us in a very smart way. But I just feel halftime, he would have ripped so many asses that there's no way that we would have shown up in the second half, and they would have been able to even remotely do what they were doing anymore past the first or second series in the third quarter. So I'm going to wipe that one off. Oklahoma, I could see us having a bad game on the road against a team like Oklahoma, Brent Venables, a quarterback game plan like that where he's using his legs. Fair. That's why I'm like 10-2. I'm just wiping like the Vanderbilt thing. Like I'm just like being around him. Adjustments would have been made, especially he's a defensive guy. That would have been. There's no way that second half we would have still allowed what we were allowing. Did they slightly tweak some stuff? We did against Vanderbilt, not nearly enough. And it wasn't just that. I mean, there's a number of times we were not making adjustments. It was like we were relying too much on what we did prepping going into the game. And in this day and age, you can't do that, man. And Coach Saban was the guy when it came to that. So to me, that's why I can't say 9-3. I would say at least 10-2. Could I understand to an extent, like what you're saying, just because of the parity and there's so many good teams? Yeah, 100%. But I'm gonna put you back on the spot, Chase. You got to give me those 3 teams, man. I need those 3 teams, Chase. I could say maybe you flop a Georgia instead of a win. Maybe Kirby gets the best of them. Maybe I don't know. It's who would you feel, Chase, would be those 3 L's that would be given to Coach Saban?
Shoot.
Doctor, here, let me help you out real quick. Dr. Crystal has South Carolina, Tennessee, and some other random one. So I mean, you got. I would say maybe a Tennessee on the road. I'm gonna help you out. Maybe a Tennessee. We'll keep that one. Maybe the Oklahoma. That's 2. So really, I guess if you say you kept Tennessee, I'm not trying to think for you, but Tennessee and Oklahoma. Say you wanted to leave those. I think that. Who would you replace Vanderbilt? I guess.
I would say Georgia. I think
Maybe
Georgia, yeah, with how well Kirby knows Saban. I know Saban has had the one up on Kirby, but Kirby's not afraid of Saban, and what they had last year, kind of the ups and downs, and the injury to Carson Beck. But I think Kirby would have been. This is so weird to say this, a better suit to beat Alabama last year instead of Kellen DeBoer, especially with how mad Saban would have been seeing the plays he would have saw. Like back and forth the fourth quarter. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I think kind of just I would say yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, look, even though it's hard to think about Kirby getting that, I guess upper hand. I mean, technically he got in 21. But that one was the injuries. Anyway, but no, I get what you're saying. Sometimes when you know somebody so well, just kind of like how we saw Sark with Texas, man. So I'll tell you guys right now, from a X's and O's standpoint, Sark, man, he knew our defense, he knew our philosophy, and he was hitting all of our weaknesses, boy. He was even doing slight modifications to certain routes and things, knowing that it would put stress on our guys because of how we played. So you're right, man. Sometimes when the student knows their teacher like that, it definitely gives them a big upper hand. All right, we got to hit a timeout. Thank you, Chase, for your answers, man. I hate to put you on the spot like that, but
you're welcome.
Got to quiz you a little bit, man. Have some fun. All right, we got to hit a timeout, and we come back. Go to the phone lines, 205-342-9904. We got George from Macon, Bryce on the phone lines. We're going to you guys when we come back right here on the Miller's Edge, Title 9.9, 1230, WTBC. Man, it's a fun little. These little hypotheticals are always fun, man. It's always fun. Coach DeBoer, promise we're not trying to hit you with a straight, man. It's just radio. It's just for fun, man. Christian, Coach Saban would have gone 11-1. He would have never lost to Vandy or OU because we're never ready to play. Vandy, I'm definitely with you on it. OU, I'm not gonna lie to you, QD. I could see a way that OU could cause some issues for even a Coach Saban team, man. I just look at Brent Venables defensively. I'll just be honest with you, man. Brent Venables, I mean, he's had our number for a minute when he was at Clemson, man. I mean, he's a hell of a defensive coordinator, defensive minded guy, obviously a head coach now, but that couple that with, their game plan was the quarterback using his running ability. And that's always been a little bit of a struggle for Coach Saban. So I wouldn't say OU is too far-fetched, but I get what you're saying. I think the ongoing drama and all the hands-on stuff he would have had to do, would have taken a toll. I think he was over it. Well, I'll say this, Dr. Crystal. I mean, like from a personal standpoint, he didn't retire because of NIL or any of that stuff. I know for a fact, it genuinely was like the main reason. Now, I'm not saying that stuff didn't maybe contribute to his thought process, but genuinely, the reason he retired, and I mean, I know this to be true from him, is that number one, he's getting older. Number two, like if he's going to do something, he's doing it 150%, right? Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. And he just felt that with him getting older, he wasn't going to be able to put his best foot forward and be able to operate and do the things as a head coach in the manner that he will want to do them. And it's true. I mean, talking about a guy, first one up there, 7 a.m, staff meetings, watching tape, breaking it down, writing notes, meeting with his coordinators, calling kids as recruiting, preparing for practice, going to practice, watching the practice literally immediately after, breaking down the practice, meeting with the coaches again, preparing for the next day, and then doing it all over again. Like, guys, I don't know if you guys really understand, like, what that looked like. And I'm not even including taking out time to do media, taking out time to go, do various other things. He literally had no time for his family. Like, I'm not just saying, like, the only time they really got, you hear him talk about it, Miss Terry get home, might turn on a series or something. Guys, he's 70 years old and he ain't up late. If he's getting home from the facility 8:30, almost 9 o'clock, they turn one episode on, his ass is snoring, going to sleep, waking up and doing it all over again. So that was the number one factor why Coach Saban retired. Not saying that, but listen,
report
when NIL, yes, that's a whole new facet to what a head coach has to do now, salary cap stuff. So now you're talking about he's already worried about how much he can, how well he can do his job. Now you're adding more layers to it. So yeah, I guess to an extent, there's a little bit of that being a factor, but. And welcome back into the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, presented by the Good Feet Store, America's arch support experts. We're talking about Coach Saban a second ago with the whole, conversation we've got going. What would the record have been? And talking about, reasons for retirement, man. I was just kind of going over and explaining like what his schedule really looked like. And basically, guys, just thinking about, 7 a.m. staff meetings, hour at least, you're meeting, watching stuff, breaking it down. Right, you're on the phone with the recruits, you're meeting with individuals, whether it's coordinators, this staff, that staff, whatever. You're watching tape, writing practice notes, preparing for practice, go out to practice, go back and watch the whole you like literally these coaches, man, they go out and coach for 2.5 hours. Do you guys know what they do afterwards? They go back inside and they watch that same 2.5 hour practice, and they're not just watching it, like practice is just going on. What are they doing? They're rewinding stuff over and over, writing notes, hours, man, in the building. It's like nonstop. And Dr. Chris was saying, "Oh, I would have retired years ago trying to do that at that age." Like, imagine, guys, I don't even think I could like handle that. Like my mental health, my physical health, like I just too much. Imagine trying to do that at 70, man. So can't do it. What's up, Sharpshooters Sports Talk? See you guys in here. Welcome in. All right. It's time to go to the phone lines. 205-342-9904 is the number. First up, we got George out of Macon. George, welcome in.
How's it going, Christian?
Oh, it's going great, George. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm thinking 10-2, and I'm not saying that we probably, I think you could probably swivel either LSU that we won and also Georgia that we won with one of the ones that we did lose, like Vanderbilt or Oklahoma. But I think 10-2 is realistic. And one thing I want to make a comment and see what your thoughts are. Everybody says we didn't make enough adjustments. Well, if you're more familiar with your personnel and you're more familiar with what your players can do, and you're more familiar with the coaches can relate to the players, your changes are much easier to make the adjustments than a brand new coaching staff. And remember, we replaced like 46 of our players after Saban, or when Saban said he was going to retire, or right before he's going to retire. So we had a lot of new faces and new, things that players were not up to speed with. So adjustments were a little bit more tough. Now, when I say 10-2 from Saban, if he'd have been, would he be playing with the same personnel, or would he have been playing with the personnel that he had before he retired? Those are the two things I want to know.
Yeah, that's a great question.
And one more thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Yesterday everybody was talking about 4-star, 5-star, 3-star, 2-star, and all that sort of things. Well, everybody said, well, you got to have your 3 stars. Well, you do have to have your 3 stars, and probably from here on out, they're going to be more 3 stars because you can't afford, 8 to 10 5 stars and the rest 4 stars like we used to have. You can't pay all those guys. Another thing, and I'm thinking that I'm going to use a term that your dad used. When you say a 3-star can be as good as a 5-star, which there could be, but you're also doing a lot of chapsticking. If you look at who always wins the national championship, the top 5 are normally the ones who do the best job of recruiting. And that's one thing that Coach Saban did when he came aboard. It used to be back in the day, even Bear Bryant days and then Gene Stallings days, you may have gotten 2 or 3 5-stars and, 7, 8 4-stars, and the rest of them were backfilled with 3 stars. But what Coach Saban did when he came on board, he just knocked recruiting out of the park. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know that you can do that anymore because you can't pay them all. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right. And that's what I've been trying to figure out, in terms of how that's going to look, because, I was just thinking about it as you were talking, George, that initially I was like, oh man, you should have plenty of money, right? Okay. If you pay this guy, your quarterback's 2, you got a receiver like Ryan Williams making 1. I mean, you still got, $10 more million to go. But I didn't think about this, George. You still got to take into consideration the other top players that you signed from the recruiting class the year prior and the year prior, right? Some guys maybe the year prior.
Absolutely.
And so, it's going to be a little bit harder. At first, when I was doing the numbers, I was like, oh, we should have plenty of money in that, $13 million range of the revenue sharing. But then when I thought about each class is going to have a few 5 stars and how quickly that could add up. And when you sign the top quarterbacks year in and year out, you're not just paying one quarterback $2 million. You might pay one quarterback $2 million. If you want to sign another top-rated quarterback, he might be making $1 million or $1.5 million as a backup. That's not going to be easy to manage. So you're right. You're going to have to be a little bit more selective with your recruits, and that's why, when you do take some of those smaller guys like the 3 stars, hopefully you're hitting on them and having a good evaluation process with that. But I also believe if this is how it's playing out, and I think it is, with them kind of going away with the traditional walk-ons, you will see us sign more guys that probably wouldn't necessarily have been Alabama-type guys in the past, but since you got to cover those roster spots, they now will be almost like the new walk-ons type deal.
Yeah.
So I think that is something that also you got to consider. But in terms of your question about the comparison is a good question. When we were doing the comparisons about the personnel that Coach Saban would have had to work with, well, I think I said to make it easier and to make it more balanced, I think you just say the guys that left, just keep them gone in this scenario, even though they probably would have still been here. But in this scenario, let's just keep the personnel the same, but only change the coaching staff. What do you think that record would be?
Yeah, well, I'm still thinking. I'm thinking 10-2. You know, another thing when you were talking about the money, look at it this way. Okay, now you're dealing with 85 scholarships right now is what we can keep up with. And in those 85, we usually get 5 or 6 5-stars. So you got 4 classes, that's 25 stars. Just think if you paid each one of them $1 million, that's $20 million, and that's all your money. Think about that.
That's a good. And so even if I'll even do this, just try to. So even if you did 500,000 a piece, that's still $10 million.
Yeah.
And that's literally almost eating up like everything. So, I mean, you definitely going to have to be more selective. I mean, to be fair though, I mean, the averages for each position, like quarterback will say like, you know, if you're transferring like 2 to 4, if you go sign a guy out of high school, you're probably going to get him a little bit cheaper, obviously. But I would say, you know, the top defensive guy, say like a secondary guy, I'd say anywhere between like $500,000 to probably upwards that 7-figure range. So you're 100% right, George. I mean, that money will definitely be utilized really quickly, but that's why I think it's important to be able to still establish culture like we've been seeing here. I think that's why it's important. Yeah, to still have resources, you know, and to be able to say, hey, you know, we can offer you this, but remember, when you're playing at the University of Alabama, you're going to have more exposure than if you go to this school. You know, we're going to have more resources. We're going to be able to get you more authentic NIL deals. You'll be on the big stage, so, you know, more opportunities will come your way. And obviously the biggest of them all, we want to be able to prove that we still can develop you guys to go accomplish the big goal, and that's making it to the NFL where the real sustainable money is at.
I got one more question for you. Okay, like Gonzaga, they play basketball. How much money are they being given just for the basketball and a couple of their Olympic sports? Surely it's not the $20 million.
So that's a really good question. So I would say this, because I'm still trying to figure out that answer. And that's literally, you know, George, what I've been basically saying. When you look at a team like Gonzaga, when it comes to basketball, they're going to have a huge advantage over an Alabama that, you know, 13 million of that 18 million is going to football, leaving maybe 3 to 4 to go to basketball. Gonzaga, to answer your question, I don't know how much they haven't announced it like that. But if I had to guess, if basketball is their main driver, and I mean, do they even have a football team? I don't think so. I mean,
I don't think they do,
unless I'm mistaken. But even if they did, I highly doubt that they would be making any money, so they probably wouldn't get much. That's probably going to make those teams have a much greater advantage. So what I would be curious is to maybe asking someone like Greg Byrne how they plan on, number one, how that looks like, and how they plan on combating that to stay competitive against those types of teams. Because obviously, we all know if they're going to put that money into basketball, they're going to pay all those top basketball recruits all that money, and it's going to leave us kind of at a big disadvantage. So I don't know. Maybe I'll try to ask Greg Byrne that. Maybe I'll see him tonight at that event. I don't know, but I'm curious about that too. And as soon as I get that answer, I'll definitely make sure I share it with you guys.
Please do. But I mean, it's just interesting because, you know, it kind of reminds me a long, long time ago. You know, I'm much older than you. Back probably in when Miami started, you know, they were semi-decent in football, then they kind of fell off, but then they started saying, we're going to put a lot of our resources in baseball. And for 3 to 4 or 5 years, they had a fantastic baseball team because that's where they put all their resources, just like Mississippi State. I imagine, you know, they put a lot of their resources in football and basketball, but I think that they put probably more in baseball than the other SEC schools, and because they take a lot of pride in being good in baseball. You know, and I'm sure that South Carolina, after they won 2 national championships in baseball in a row, probably more of their money is going into baseball than normally would in other schools, especially since their old baseball coach, isn't he now the AD over at South Carolina?
Yes, Ray Tanner, George, former baseball coach. Yeah, Ray Tanner. He's the AD now. That's exactly right.
I imagine when their baseball coach says, "I need an extra $1 million," he starts peeling it off for him, whereas other schools may not, because baseball, I mean, 2 national championships in a row, that's pretty high cotton. You know what I mean? But I'm interested to see how the money is divvied out in these other schools.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I mean, and I don't know if we'll ever get, these schools to like release their exact numbers, but I mean, if I just had, like, I know the general, ball range for kind of what we're looking at, a ballpark range for, like, like a team, like a school like Alabama. So I'd imagine like LSU would probably be pretty similar. Granted, their basketball team maybe not as great, but they do have the LSU baseball program. Obviously, very, very good program. So I would imagine, George, most schools that have a competitive football team, whether it's the SEC, Big Ten, whatever, I would say that average percent is going to be around 70. I think 70% in
really?
Because the reason is football is what drives revenue. So 70% to me is probably going to be that average. Some probably going to be a little bit less. There's definitely going to be others that are a little bit more. But I would say 70% is probably an average allotment for football. Now, after that, it's going to vary because, our basketball team, very, very competitive. We're competing for conference championships, making it to Elite Eights, Final Fours. Nate Oates doing a great job. They also make money a lot. It depends really, George, too, what they value. Are they going to, give the most money just off the jump to the programs that bring in the most revenue, which typically is really only 2, football and men's basketball? Or is it, who's, I don't know, having the most success? Football is going to be football. We know that. But then that other 30-ish%, that's probably going to change given on the philosophy of each athletic department, I believe.
I agree. I agree with you. But one last statement, and I'll let you go. When you mentioned LSU baseball, I'm amazed at how good they are. Because I didn't realize, is high school baseball that great in Louisiana? I mean, for them to get 8 national championships and always being in the hunt is really amazing to me. Because you would think that in Atlanta, that there's a high school or some baseball team, in Atlanta, or that would be really, really good, because I do know that the Braves put a lot of money and resources in the state of, in Atlanta as far as baseball.
Yeah,
other colleges and high schools. And so I would think that they should be better, don't you think?
Yeah, no, and that's a really good point. I do know that LSU has relied on the transfer portal in the last few years. I mean, just think about a guy like Paul Skeens. They brought him over from Air Force. Dylan Cruz. I can't remember his name, but I think he actually signed with LSU. I think he might be a Louisiana guy. But Paul Skeens, Tommy, forgot his last name. Tommy's, I think, 47. He transferred from maybe North Carolina State. They do a good job in the transfer portal, but I think they also do a good job signing their own guys. I think they do have some good players out of Louisiana. So whatever they're doing is working. That's all I know. George, we're going to try to squeeze in Bryce real quick.
Let me say one more quick thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Wasn't it 4 or 5 years ago that LSU was talking about giving up sports because they didn't have enough money? Somehow they've gotten a lot of money lately.
Hey, man. People are going to donate to what they feel confident in. Yeah, oh, absolutely, George. We appreciate you, man. Take care. Good deal. All right, let's see if we got Bryce on here still. Bryce, you with us?
Yeah, real quick.
Yes, sir.
Could you imagine what Saban would have done in the Oklahoma game if after Milroe tried to trip out gas to tackle him?
Bryce, you're going to take that. You're going to take that to the grave, Bryce. You're going to, Bryce, that play really is sitting somewhere with you, isn't it, man?
Yeah, I mean,
that play is like, I feel like you remember that play more than any even positive play. That play really stuck with you.
You wouldn't have, he would have jerked his ass. I know that. Anyway,
he would have.
It wouldn't surprise me last year if we would have run the table and gotten the championship game with Saban coaching, because you'd have had a better secondary. Those two secondary guys wouldn't left, and your defense would have been intact. It wouldn't surprise me at all. We'd have run the table and been in the championship game.
Well, let me ask you this.
You know?
I get that argument. Let me ask you this. Say those guys left. Say I know they probably wouldn't have. They not even probably they wouldn't have. But just say for whatever reason they still left, even though he still was here. And now, how would you look at it? How would you look at it if the roster was exactly the same as what Coach DeBoer had, but the coaching staff was flipped and you had Coach Saban's staff?
You wouldn't have been learning the new defense. Your defense would have been better.
Fair.
And,
I mean,
he would have stopped that bullshit with Vanderbilt. He would have told somebody
to be
he
fair,
better tear his head off.
yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. But to be fair, I got to give some credit to Coach Womack and the defense. They did put up, statistically, they were one of the better defenses we've had since 17. But no, I still agree with you. I'm not only going off the numbers. No, I'm agreeing with you. I wanted to give to their credit, even with the changes and whatnot. They statistically they did pretty well. Now, obviously, when you turn on the tape, there were a number of things that needed to be better. But I'm with you. I agree with in terms of
you wouldn't have run the ball on Saban like that, and he wouldn't have put up with it.
Yeah, I think for me, I think the adjustments is the biggest thing that stands out. I think that would have been huge. Yeah, that makes sense. So I'm with you, though. I respect it, Bryce. I respect it.
And those close games, he would have found a way to get the edge.
Yeah, 100%. That was the other thing I mentioned too. Just he always found a way. You know what I mean? Like it didn't matter how close it was. Now, obviously, he won perfect.
We would have outcoached them.
Yeah, we would find some type of way to scratch, claw, whatever we had to do to get that dub when the clock hit 0. So I agree with you on that. Bryce,
there's a reason why they called the GOAT.
No doubt about it. Can't argue that one. Bryce, you be easy, man. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. All right, we got to say bye to all you guys because it's that time. Wyatt Fulton and T-Town Sports up next. Appreciate everybody, all the contributions. Chase Behind the Glass, calls, app messages, if there were some, and the YouTube chat. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow right here on the Miller's Edge, presented by the Good Feet Store, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.